Well, at the time of recording this podcast, we are just at the very beginning of 2024. And I want to ask you a question as we get this new year started. Are you the kind of person that likes making New Year's resolutions or having an exhaustive list of goals? I am not. I am not really one of those kind of people. But I do want to share with you a bit of a tool that has given me some traction, pun intended, around focusing on a new year. And it's a pretty simple idea. It's kind of the working of it out where the real power comes in. But the idea is really simple. It's having a theme or a focus or a line of thinking or investigation for the coming year. I want to share that tool with you today and give you an example of one that I think I'm going to be using for 2024. So welcome aboard.
Ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, as we get started in this brand new year, I want to say once again that if you are wanting to connect with me and finding some movement and traction away from the embedded habits of porn and porn behaviors in your life, again, I do love to connect with guys. And whether or not you just want to connect with me individually and tell me a little bit about your story, I do that. And sometimes that's all we do is have a conversation. People say, I like the podcast. I'd love to get a few quick ideas from you, and we meet on a Zoom call, and I enjoy that. That's actually one of the favorite things I do is meeting with guys for the first time and hearing a little bit about their story. That way I can maybe give guys some tools. Hey, you should check out, why don't you pick up the traction course, or some of the guys are, you know what, let's maybe do a month of individual coaching, and we'll do that. Or other guys I'm going, hey, I have a couple groups here on these time slots. Why don't you join up with a group? It's an invitation. If you want to join up with a group, we can meet together with 4 or 5 guys and together do the traction course. So let me just say the traction course, I have now completely, I wouldn't say rewritten it, but completely gone through it and made a second edition. It is now I'm now 2/4 halfway done the second edition. So if you are interested in that, or again, just contacting or connecting with me, you can reach out to me at bandofbrothers.care @gmail.com. So bandofbrothers, plural, .care @gmail.com. Well, let's talk about this idea of themes for the year. I've done this now for maybe, 3 or 4 years. My buddy Ed was the one that gave me the idea. He'd done it for a number of years. And I have done different ones, from more spiritual themes to more practical themes. On the more spiritual end, I did practicing the nearness of God one year. Another year, I did cultivate curiosity. Another year, I really wanted to focus on asking questions of people. Different themes. And the idea of having a theme is not that it's going to be your sole focus, but what you're saying is, by the end of this year, I want to have some growth or movement in this area. Or I really want to focus on making this a bigger part of my life. Maybe you recognize the need. Maybe there's a deficit in your life in one area, and you're saying, you know what? I want to I want to work on this area this year. Sometimes it's not even that. It's, you know what? I want to really be, I really want to, I'm interested in this area. I really want to spend time studying this topic or really learning more about this topic because I think it requires some greater investigation. So by the end of this year, I'd like to be a bit of a subject matter expert or at least know a lot more about this topic. And I think it's helpful because it moves us into a place of intentionality as we approach the coming year. I want to give you something, and I'm going to throw one that I am working on right now. I think it's going to be the one for the year. It's going to be, as you hear, I explain it. You're going to go, "Oh my goodness, Vern, that is going to take you the whole year just to try to unpackage and unwrap." And I think it's true. And let me put it this way. One of the things that I really admire about people, have you ever been with somebody and you have their complete attention? They're not distracted. They're fully with you. They're fully engaged with you. And it's not like, they're thinking about somebody else or their phone is going off, or they're fully with you. They're giving you the full gift of their presence. I love that when I'm with people like that. I would love more and more to be fully present, wherever I am. It's a little bit of the mindfulness thing. It's a little bit of, but it's like being fully present. And I love that I love it when people are like that with me, and I would love to be that more with other people. From my spiritual perspective, I would like to have a greater sense, not just of being fully present with people. I would love to have a greater sense of being fully present in my spiritual life as well. And to get that, I'm going to back up a second here. What it means is I think that this year I need to cultivate a greater awareness. I think that's the word, awareness. Be more aware of people in my life, more aware of what my kids are saying, more aware of my wife, more aware of God in my life, more aware. The word awareness has really kind of taken on a real sorry, I'm struggling with a cold here. Taken on a greater importance, the idea of awareness. There's an old ancient Christian book called Practicing the Presence of God. And that is again the idea of awareness. But I that's such a great sounding goal, isn't it? But it's going to get a little steeper as I explain this, because I have started to realize that one of my big problems in awareness is I struggle with attentiveness. You can't be aware of somebody if you're not attentive to them, right? You can't be, if you're not attentive to them, you're not going to pick up their cues. They're not going to pick up what they're saying. You're not going to pick up what's going on between the lines. When I'm coaching guys one-on-one, I do my best to ask good questions, to be aware not only of what they're saying, but maybe what's really going on or what's behind some of their statements. Learning to practice attentiveness. Now you say, okay, that's good. But there's another thing that has caused me to realize there's a thing that gets in the way of my attentiveness. And this is where the crux of the matter really comes in. I, like most of you, suffer with terminal distraction, ongoing distractions. And the greatest enemy of me being attentive is this idea that I am almost always distracted by one thing or another. And I read a book. Actually, I'm in the middle of this book right now, and let me just tell you a little bit about it. It's kind of what has kind of the pennies kind of dropped on this idea. It's all great to say, oh, I want to be more present with people and more aware, but if you really want to do that, you start backing the train up. Going upstream, you realize, you know what? The problem with my attentiveness is I am a highly distracted person. And all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness, there is a lot going on. And the book that I want to throw out to you, it's a book that I'm in the middle of. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Hurry. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. He's out of Portland. And the kind of the book started, there is this, he's now passed away, this fellow by the name of Dallas Willard. He's certainly known in Christian circles as a bit of a spiritual guru. He, will become probably known as one of the most insightful guys in the last 100 years. And one of this other guys had asked, this wasn't actually the author, but it was a mentor of the authors, had asked Dallas Willard, what is the most important thing that you would recommend to grow in being a spiritual person, or something like that? And Dallas Willard had said to him, you need to ruthlessly practice the elimination of hurry. And this guy had said to Dallas, okay, got that, had written it down. And he said to Dallas, is there anything else? What else should I be doing? And Dallas Willard had said to him, okay, that's good. The number 2 thing is this. You need to ruthlessly practice the elimination of hurry. Because hurry is all about being distracted. It's all about going too fast. It's all, all of those things are what we wrestle with. And as I've been reading this book, I've just been gobsmacked at how much of a distracted person that I am. Okay, true confessions here. I probably check out, because I work from home now when I'm not getting called to teach, which I do a couple days a week. But those 3 days, Monday to Friday, that I'm working at home on podcasts and coaching, guys, true confessions, I probably check news sites or sports sites 25 times a day. It's just an impulse. It's just I'm just constantly, checking news. I have my phone going off. I have emails from guys. I have texts from some of my WhatsApp groups. I've got all sorts of things going. When I'm out for my walks, I'm listening to sports podcasts, recovery podcasts, political podcasts. I'm just constantly distracted by one thing or the other. Now, I could call it learning, but is it really learning? I am a highly distracted person. I don't think I have ADD, but I have just allowed myself, like most of us, to continually allow things in that make us distracted people. Now, most of you are going, well, I'm probably guilty as charged too. But that's why this is a year-long focus. So I've started to ask myself, what would it be like in this year, 2024, to have less distractions in my life? If I had less distractions in my life, I could begin to practice greater attentiveness to the people and things in my life that most matter. If I had greater attentiveness, then I could grow in my being aware of what was going on in my spiritual life, in my relational life, and I could become a person of greater presence with people, with God, with those important relationships in my life. But if I turn it all back, the thing that's probably the greatest enemy is distraction. Maybe this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, John Mark Comer, I think, is a pastor, and maybe a more of a secular approach to the same thing. Some of the writings, for example, by Cal Newport, the author of Digital Minimalism, he is also maybe from more of a secular standpoint saying some of these same things. I just looked up before I started here. I haven't read it yet, but don't forget, I have a whole year to be thinking and working on this. Cal Newport's latest book is called Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. This idea of deep work. We were talking a little bit last night. I was in one of my coaching groups, and one of the guys used the example of being at a beach, a busy beach, and it was just like, if you're right near the beach and near the sand, you're in the middle of 1,000 screaming people. People all around throwing beach balls and goofing around, it's just this. But if you swim out into or go a little deeper, all of a sudden the numbers of people are exponentially less. And you get out to deeper water. Now, of course, let's leave sharks out of this metaphor. But, the idea there's a lot fewer people out where the deeper water is. And we'll leave reptiles out as well. That's just ruining this word picture. But it's this whole idea of how do I become less distracted, allow less distractions in my life. If I can pick on some other people, and I'm so good, at picking on other people. Did you know, for example, that the average person spends 705 hours every year on scrolling social media? That is almost 2 hours a day. To pick on the young guys, I grew up before video games. The average guy spends 10,000 hours playing video games by the time they're 21. Now, those are, and if you're interested, you know anything about the idea of 10,000 hours, they talk about if you ever want to become amazing at a skill, 10,000 hours is what you need to put in, or a subject, right? And so in one sense, what we're teaching is by 21, you might become, your greatest skill in life might be Call of Duty or something. But those are easy examples of distractions. And I want to be careful here because I want to say that there is a difference. And one of the guys, again, in one of my groups last night pointed out, there is a difference between recreation and distraction. Recreation is something that adds to our life, that is replenishing, that is life-giving. It's not simply pressing pause on our life or vegging out. Now, I'm not against video games. I am playing video games. My two boys just got me the latest the latest Assassin's Creed video game. I've got Dying Light I haven't played yet to kill a few zombies. I'm not a Luddite here. I enjoy a good video game. So please don't hear me saying this. But what I'm saying is, and when we do our check-ins with our guys, we're asking them, what are you doing around life-giving passions that is building it, that is giving you energy and refreshment and renewal? What are you looking forward to this week? It's one of the weekly questions we ask our guys. And if all it is distraction, it's actually not building into your life. Think about this. Most of us, what was our ultimate distraction? Well, it was porn. Of course it was porn. We either were, distracted and engrossed in looking at porn, or we were distracted by the reverberations and ripples of the negative emotions because of the recent last time we looked at porn, or we were struggling with not thinking about looking at porn again, or we were planning the next time that we would be able to look at porn. It was the ultimate soul-sucking, life-reducing distraction in our lives. And most of us are at varying levels in this journey of ushering porn out of our lives and developing a new life, a better life. But the answer to not looking at porn is not to simply add in 5 to 10 brand new distractions which simply take the place of porn. You've heard of cross addictions. That's when you go from one addiction to another addiction. Well, distractions, that's the amazing thing of recovery, like porn recovery. You start dealing with one thing and you realize, oh my goodness, this is just a window on some of the deeper work that I need. And you start realizing, now that porn is not in my life, I want to stuff it with 10 other distractions. And you go, wow, why is that? Why is it that I have such a hard time just stopping or being still or being alone? That's what I mean by the idea that recovery is a window onto all sorts of other changes in our lives. So my biggest regret for years of porn use is just I don't know if this is a accurate term, the psychic toll, the psychic energy, the emotional energy, the mental energy that it took in terms of my attention, right? I couldn't be attentive because I was constantly distracted with porn. But now that porn is increasingly in the rearview mirror and not in the focus of my life, it's peripheral, and increasingly so, then I can get on with, okay, what do I want to focus my attention on? What do I want to become more aware of? So that's partly where I'm at with this. Now, once again, I'm not a great guru of this. I'm reading this book. I'm being tremendously challenged. And like a lot of changes in life, it requires you just start with baby steps. Let me give you a couple ideas here. These are just my baby steps to say, okay, I'm not gonna become this totally focused person overnight, but I can do some simple things. So here's an example. One of the tools that a number of my guys have used, and which I've been playing around with, is the Freedom app. It's really inexpensive, and you can take control over your phone or your computer and just take control. So here's an example of that. I've already shared with you just how often I check out sports or news sites. And sometimes I do it the very first thing of the day. And for me, before noon or before 2:00, for example, that's usually when I go to pick my wife up at school. That's my most productive time. That's when I'm coaching guys. That's when I'm writing, those things. So when I'm just distracted by checking out news sites, it's just distractions for me. So, the idea is to say, I'm not going to go on any sort of news sites or sports sites till afternoon. I don't need to. Nothing's going to happen that's ending the world in that way. I mean, I already watch the American and Canadian news every night with my wife, and you're going, Vern, isn't that enough? No, it's not enough for me. And that's not even getting into the fact that it's 2024. Do you know how much catnip is going to be on the news this year about the blood sport known as American politics? I'm not even American, for all you Americans, but I find it fascinating. I could I could read stuff on politics for hours a day, and it would make me a much better person. No, it wouldn't make me a better person at all. It probably make me a worse person, right? So there would be an example of, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna go on to those, those. I can just turn them off. Set a thing, nothing till the afternoon. Here's another example. For example, I go out every day. I'm home. I go out for an hour walk. I live right next to a park, and every lap around the park is 10 minutes. So I try to put in 6 laps every day that I'm home. And now, of course, up to this point, I'm listening at 2.0 speed, or sometimes 1.5 speed, depending on how fast the talkers are. How fast do you listen to me? That's the question. But I listen to a recovery podcast. I listen to a bit of music. I often will listen to either a sports podcast or a news podcast. And I just will power walk and listen to podcasts without giving myself a minute of stillness. That's just the kind of person I've become. So I've kind of made a new goal, and again, these are baby steps to say for this year, when I go out for my 6 laps, 2 of those laps, I am just going to turn off every freaking thing and just walk in silence. Be at home with my own thoughts. Can you imagine? How people would walk without listening to something? Is that even possible? Those are baby steps for me. But this is the idea to say, this is the year 2024 where I want to develop a bit more of a focused, deeper life that has a greater sense of awareness of presence, my own and others around me. And to do that, I'm going to grow in my attentiveness by reducing some of the many distractions that seek to keep me just thinking of 1,000 different things in 1,000 different ways. So that's a little bit of my thinking for the year. My question for you is, where would you like to grow this year? What would something by the end of this year would you like to say, you know what? I've really developed this in my life to a greater degree. Now, all of us, of course, I know if you listen to this podcast, you have goals around, I really want to continue to walk away from porn. I want to walk out of that lifestyle, and that's great. But I'm really asking you in this podcast, okay, that's great. That's a common goal that we all have. What are you walking towards? When we say, as we do every podcast, towards the life and relationships we most dream about, what does that life or relationships look like? So that's really where I guess I'm pressing you to think a little bit more about as you head off into a brand new year. So here's my hope and prayer. We have a great new year together. Again, love to hear from you. You can connect with me, Vern, at bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.